Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dark Pool Algo, and thanks for joining me on another end of the day watch list building session. Today is Thursday, August 19th, 2021, and today was overall pretty much a mixed day, a little bit of a fading. We did what we thought was going to happen. I thought this was going to be a rally into the mean, which would be the pullback on the NQ to the 21-day exponential moving average. Now, what happens over the next couple of days is really going to determine the shape of the market for the next couple of weeks. We're either going to rally through the 21 and continue in an uptrend, or we're going to reject and start to fade off. So there's an argument to be said for both ways. SPY made a great recovery today. The NQ made a great recovery today. Ended the month quad witching, it's a witching. End of the month expirations have a lot to do with the positive momentum in the market. So what I'd like to do today is I want to start getting back into education. I trade a very specialized system. However, I realize that's not probably for the masses, and I think it's more important to teach basic technical analysis. And everybody that I've worked with over the last couple months, they seem to really enjoy trading the basics, like really learning some of the free tools that are available out there, understanding support, resistance, pivot points, stochastics, RSI, MACD. I think there's a deep-rooted need to understand what's in front of you so that you can have some faith and trust in it when you're trading in the stock market. So with that being said, I brought back the old tutorial series, chart that you see here. It's a little bit modified. I've got this really pretty one over here on the right-hand side. We'll get into that later. This is really good for helping me find positions that are at some key levels, specifically positive or minus average true range. So the left-hand side of the screen will be the educational part. Over here, I'm just going to leave this there for now. I may touch on it, I may not. So with that being said, I went ahead and went through our, one second here. All right. So interesting day in the stock market. I've got 5 stocks that we can look at that should be poised to make a move over the next day, weeks. We're going to keep an eye on them. All I ask in return for this content is you hit that like button, subscribe, and go ahead and turn on notifications so that anytime I start putting out these videos, you'll get notified. The other thing I'd ask you to do is join me every Monday through Friday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, as I live stream pre-market prep. So let's check out the intro, and then we'll jump right into it. See you in a second. All right, welcome back. All right, the stocks that we have on our list today are BILI, GOOS, PayPal, and CPNG. And I will throw some markers in this video so that we can go ahead and look at it from, you'll be able to skip ahead. So the first one we're looking at is BILI. And the reason I chose BILI was simply because it's got some really nice divergence on the algorithm. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the algo. I do that every morning. If you're interested in algorithm stuff, see me in the morning. But this is great, nice bullish divergence. So from a technical standpoint, I'm going to run through my charts really quickly so that everybody understands what you're looking at. I'm looking at a daily chart, right? The colored candles are the 10x bars, right? Yellow is neutral, green is obviously high momentum, volume, and conviction. I use the stacked moving average system where I use the 8, the 21, and the 34 exponential moving average. So that would be represented by green, yellow, and orange being the 34 EMA. I also like to use the simple moving averages. I feel like they're a little bit slower. That's why I use them for a longer time frame, specifically the 50, which is the blue, and the 200, which is the red. Okay, I also like to use Fibonacci, so I will be drawing some Fibonacci levels. My lower indicators, this is the B4 indicator. It measures stochastic RSI and MACD. And let's see, there's 4 indicators built into one. So it was MACD, RSI, stochastic, and Bollinger Bands. Yes, it's a great tool. It's also available for free. So, and below that, I use a market extension tool. Think of RSI on steroids. The only thing that we're missing from here, well, the B4 indicator It does have MACD in it. So this is really a culmination of some of the higher end tools that you see. Like over here on my right, I've got the Squeeze Pro, I've got the Radiant Fire Pro. Like a lot of these specialized tools are they serve a very specific purpose. Anyone just getting starting out trading stocks, trying to learn support, resistance, technical analysis, basic momentum, basic trends, just generalized setups. I feel like starting off with this group of tools that I've got over here, and then I provided in other videos, is a great way to start. Okay, with that being said, I'm looking at BILI on the hourly chart. I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment and create a new drawing set. I've drawn some specific levels on this chart previously. I don't want to lose those, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new drawing. Sorry, I'm going to save this as drawing set, save it as a new one, and I'm going to call it support, right? And resistance. That way, when I go ahead and change this to the default, or I create a new one, I can go back and reference those, right, and not lose all that information. So BILI has been one of my favorite stocks. Lately, it seems like it's not been doing as well as it possibly can be. We've been able to catch some of these moves, right, some of these little $2, $3 moves. However, since it broke below this 200 SMA, it's really just been kind of selling off into earnings, right? So most stocks will run into earnings. For some reason, BILI's been selling off into earnings. It may be that it's a Chinese-based stock. I like to play the chart in front of me. So what I'm seeing, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, well, first of all, let's do this. We always check for earnings. Okay, the first thing we do is we'll check for earnings. So it had earnings. Looks like it had earnings today. Looks like they estimated a 55-cent loss, and they came through at a $1.97 loss. The last time they had a major loss, right, they ran up. Let's go back to the previous earnings. Lost and ran up. So this stock tends to run after earnings. Keep that in mind. Now, what I want to do is, this is a doji symbol right here on the daily. MACD, RSI, and stochastic are all oversold. What I'd like to do is just go ahead and grab a price line, and I'm going to look and see where my level of support is, because something in this stock's history has made it stop right at this level. So going back in time, I can see that there's a doji right there. When that happens, that's typically the indication that there's a demand zone there, and I will always, whenever possible, notate demand zones, because those will save your butt more often than you know. So I'm going to throw that up there. Typically what I do is I'll change that to a green, and we'll just leave it like that for now, so that I know that it actually, yeah, it's green for me, because I do things backwards a little bit. Okay, so we know that there's a demand zone right below us. We know that we just had earnings. We know that previously, after earnings, the stock has seemed to move after earnings. So we could be fairly certain that over the next couple of days, this stock, excuse me, this stock's going to want to retrace to the 21 EMA, right? Or at least the 8 EMA, right? This chart over on this side is I'm going to show you reversions to the mean. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to just do a real quick technical analysis on this. So knowing that we have a low and that we have a high, let's go ahead and grab our fib level. I don't necessarily want to go from the high to the low, because I feel like that will put a little bit too much of a move coming into, it's going to be too much to ask for this stock to move that much. So what I'll do is I'll go from the most recent high to the most recent low, and that's this level here, down to the low. That gives us some targets to go after. I use the 382 and the 50% and the 618% retracement, and then I've got the 127 extension. So if you notice that I like it when my fib levels line up with some moving averages. The 382 retracement lines up with the 21 EMA. The 50% retracement lines up with the 34 EMA. Okay, so I'm looking for a pullback to the mean, which is the 21 EMA, right? That's coming in at 82.47. That is it's a pretty big move, right? What's that? $18 move. So it definitely has the opportunity to make an $18 move back to the mean. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit and see if I've got any trend line support. I don't really believe I do. So we're strictly basing this off of this demand zone here. Okay. As long as this demand zone holds, I'm going to look for a pullback to the mean. I'm looking at my lower indicator, this B4 indicator. I would like this RSI to curl around and continue to start making a bullish move. Same with the stochastic signal line and the MACD, as well as the Bollinger Bands. I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to a 4-hour chart real quick. And you can see, I don't know, maybe 4 hours is not the best chart to use. Let's drop it down, maybe 15 minute. Yeah, let's look at the. So the 15-minute really shows us what happens intraday. It gives a better example of what the RSI stochastic indicator can do. Looks as if though we've started making an uptrend. So let me go ahead and mark that out with. I think I'm gonna go small to small. All right, so we've got that. I always extend it to the right. That gives me trend line support. We are starting to make an increase. We opened at 62 or 65.27. We sold off throughout the day. Came down, tested 61. This stock's actually in a pretty good setup for move tomorrow. If this overnight uptrend can hold, right, I would go look to target previous lows or previous highs. I'm not exactly sure what the ATR is on this stock, but I definitely, if I wanted to play it intraday, this is what I do. I'd grab a fib level from a high to this low. This gives me overhead resistance, a break above 67.05. I'm immediately going to run into the 200 SMA. So really for me, a break above 67.47, and I'd play it back up to previous high, 70, followed by 72.89. So that's BILI, and I'm liking that level. Let me see. I'm going to use my scratch pad here and take some notes. So BILI. So it's retracement, trace to mean, had earnings, moves after earnings, uptrend support, break, 200 SMA on 15 for run to the 127. Okay, that's how I do basic technical analysis on a stock that's looking to move. And the reason that I'm choosing that is RSI, stochastic, MACD, and Bollinger Bands are all positive and increasing. This looks really good. We've maintained upward trend line support. We are starting to cross over. Our moving averages are starting to cross back over. We've got some very clearly defined Fibonacci levels. We know that the stock has a tendency to move after earnings. So that's BILI. Next one I'm going to look at is GOOS, GOOS. I've never traded the stock before, so we're all looking at it for the first time today. All right, so GOOS. All right, this is another stock that's trading at -3 ATR. Looks like it had earnings on the 11th. It beat, or excuse me, actually had bad earnings. And this looks like it's another one that has a tendency to move pretty well after earnings within a couple of days. Looks like it'll pull back for a day or two and then run after that. Yeah, pull back day or two, run after that. All right, so this stock naturally wants to retrace to the mean, which looks like on this daily it's coming in at 39.57. So 39.57 is 21 EMA. On its way up, first thing we want to do, like I said, is find what stopped it. So I always have a tendency to look left. I will throw a price level all the way from the left and see if I can find any sort of support or resistance. All right, what do you know? There's a doji right there. Right, so I would say it's fair to say that it stopped at a demand zone. While it's a very small demand zone, it's still a demand zone. We're just going to go ahead and mark that out. All right, so we're currently trapped at a demand zone, very similar to the last stock we looked at. So what I want to do is go ahead, grab a fib level. So we'll go from high to low. That gives us our longer term fib levels. Again, the 50% retracement lines up with the 21 EMA. We like to see that. The 50's on top of the 200. I'm not sure exactly what caused this to sell off either, but we sold off into earnings. We retraced to the 8 EMA, rejected off of this previous low over here. So this is going to be a significant level for us to get up and past. Right there at 37.50, which is the 8 EMA, which is probably going to be where we're going to look to take an entry, but we have an opportunity to play the move up. Okay. So currently negative stacked EMAs, the 8's below the 21, below the 34. However, the 50's above the 200. Right, we have an opportunity there. So go ahead and drop this down to the 4-hour. Kind of see how this stock's been moving over the last little while. So we had a beat on earnings. We sold off to support. We retraced. See how the stock likes to retrace to the 21 EMA, which it did here. Right, retraced to the 21 EMA and pulled back. If I were to run a fib from here, from this high to this low, I bet you this would be a 382 retracement. So the stock looks like it's starting to set up a reversal pattern. So this would be a 1, 2, 3 reversal. That's the pattern that we like to play. We call it the Wu-Tang pattern. Yes, we do. So I'm dropping it down to the 4-hour, or excuse me, the 15-minute chart, just to see how this stock's been moving over the last couple of days. And just like I thought, we had a nice run up into yesterday, right? Double topped, ran into the falling 200 SMA, always resistance or support, sold off back to a support level. I mean, just for giggles, let's see what stopped it. All right, so we're going to go fib level from high to low. We need to go from so from fib level, we've got a range. Look at this. That's a perfect range. See those white, why I draw those white trend lines? Okay. So we sold off. We had a lot of volume come in. This is a trend reversal indicator. Let's try this again. There we go. So gap down, sold off, came up, retested the 21, sold off. So it looks like we're consolidating a little bit. The MACD, RSI, and stochastic are just turned positive, looking to play the move. This one looks a little bit harder to get through. I didn't have a chance to look at algo on this. So if we were to break above Like there's a move from here up to 3605, which should be the 200 SMA, right? Should be that level there. However, getting through all of this is going to take a lot of energy and effort. With it being red 10x bars, it doesn't have a lot of conviction and momentum behind it. I'm going to go ahead and pass on this one. But what I will do is I will draw a line, and then I'm going to go ahead and create an alert with drawing. What that does is I'm saying anytime price, look for entry. Okay. What I'm saying here is that if this stock's price action can become strong enough to get up and above the 200 SMA on the 15-minute chart, an alert's going to go off, and I'm going to come back and look at this stock. I can see that it wants to retrace to the 50% retracement, which is this mean of over here on the right-hand side at 39.64. So a break and a close above 36.66 gives me a $3 move to the upside. That is something I'm definitely looking at taking. Okay, the next one I wanted to look at is PayPal. With these, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you find something that is ready to move, and sometimes you've just got to give it a day or two, right? So, PayPal, PYPL. All right, looking at PayPal. PayPal's trading at -2 ATR. It's got a slingshot squeeze setting up. This is a reversal indicator on this yellow here. Oversold, MACD, stochastic, and RSI. Looks like we've stair-stepped down. PayPal had earnings last month. Not exactly sure why PayPal's failing. Let's see. Looking at the stock, this could be kind of like a really over-imagined cup and handle. What stopped us over the last couple days? So we've got this doji here way back in time that could be a potential demand zone. I feel like maybe this one here would probably be a little bit more accurate. Seeing if there's... Yeah, so I think our demand zone is going to be off of this doji here. We need price line first. So I try to touch as many of the candlesticks as possible when I draw that. That means it's a lot more support. And then I'm just going to go ahead and track the bottom of this one or the bottom of this one. Alright, so I think if I went off of, maybe this previous low, that allows me to touch a whole lot more bottoms of the candlesticks. So I'm going to go ahead and consider that our demand zone that we're in. Just to double check to make sure that we don't have one a little bit further down. You know what? I think we might actually have one further down too. So let's just go ahead and draw another support line on there. Trying to touch as many of the candlesticks as possible. Right, that looks like it right there. So this doji here is our demand zone. It's split up into 3 different levels that are going to be affecting price, and it looks like they're about $2. There's a $2 range there. Rather than drawing out the demand zone, I'm just going to go ahead and leave those price levels. Okay, first thing we want to do is throw some Fibonacci levels on there. So going from high to low. And if it makes sense to move your fib level to where maybe maybe going to this low makes a little bit more sense, because we don't know if PayPal is going to continue to sell off for the next day or so. And what I'm looking for is confluence and symmetry of levels that have provided support and resistance before. And I feel like I need to go from a fib level from this current high to the existing low, and that's simply because there was a gap down. All right, you see how PayPal gapped down from 300 to 283. So this is the high that we're going to try to take out. Looking at some fib levels, the 618 lines up pretty well with previous highs. So I'm going to give myself a little room back down to this trend line if PayPal maybe opens up to the downside tomorrow. But we're looking to pull back up to the 21 EMA, which is going to line up. It's probably going to, by the time it gets curled around, it's probably going to line up with this 280 level, 279.35 level. Okay, so we're oversold. Stochastic RSI, MACD, and Bollinger Bands are all negative and pointing to the downside. We're trading at -2 ATR. PayPal has a little bit of more room to come back down to 263.90. A break at 263.90 would represent -3 ATR and a longer term move. So let's see where we can put this to the downside, and then we'll play the reversion to the 21. Going to go ahead and pull it up on the 4-hour chart. I hope you guys are just, what I'm really trying to get everybody to get from this process is that it is a process, right? You know, the first thing I did is I drew some support lines. I drew fib levels. I'm looking at it on the 4-hour. Looks like I made a nice recovery today. I can't believe I didn't play this. Nice recovery today up to the 21. When I talk about stocks retracing to the 21 EMA, perfect example. We sold off. It tested the 8. It sold off. Came back down and tested the support level. Retraced to the 21, and now it's bull flagging on the 4-hour. So the 382 retracement is the 50-day SMA, so that's going to be our initial target at 275.16. I dropped down to the 15-minute chart. Shows a different story. Just by looking at the 15-minute chart, you would think that PayPal was in a strong uptrend. Well, actually, I feel like it's got a little bit more room to the downside. However, it is bull flagging on the 4-hour chart, so we have to pay attention and play the chart in front of us. Looking at the move that PayPal made today, keep in mind it was completely oversold this morning going into the open. Right, our signal line finally crossed the upper Bollinger Band. That issues a buy signal. At that point, we could have got into this position on either one of these two buy signals and went ahead and rode the momentum up to the opening range high, right, which was previous day's highs. Oversold territory. This is a healthy pullback and a reversal pattern. So what I'm looking to do is I'm going to draw a fib extension. I'm taking it from the pre-market low to the daily high, back down to the pre-market low, right? That gives me my support and resistance for this run that PayPal is going to go on. So it looks like it's doing a 1, 2, 3 reversal. For me to be interested in PayPal, I needed to get it above previous high, which is the 200 SMA at 272.04. I break at 272, and I think 274, 275 is very easy to get to. Contrarian, if we break down, what's happening is this 50 and this 200 are squeezing together, and it's going to pop us out one side or the other. Okay, but this is a nice strong uptrend. It's making higher lows. Failed to make a higher high. However, that is a bull flag that is starting to form on the 15-minute chart. It's a very long one, long drawn out bull flag. So I just anticipate PayPal chopping around for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and set an alert right at this 200 SMA, which is previous high. If PayPal can get above that level, it's going to let me know. At that point, I'm going to readdress the situation and look to get long. Yeah, I guess I can draw it off the fib extension, which is pretty nice. I didn't know I could do that before. All right, look to get long. All right, that's PayPal. The next one and the final one. Thanks for joining me. Right, it's been kind of struck out today. Thought I was going to have a little bit better plays, but you win some, you lose some. All right, this stock is also trading at -2 ATRs, just coming off of earnings earlier this week. Let's see what it does on earnings. Oh wow, this is a new stock. All right, well, IPO low is going to be important for this stock's entirety. So IPO open, that's the IPO low. I always like to indicate when I've got an IPO low. So IPO low. I make those solid, and we'll just make it nice pink color. It doesn't have to be anything special. IPO low, right? We're on the daily, so it ran to 69. It opened at 49. Nice $20 move. I'm going to duplicate that and it's interesting that it stopped right at $69. IPO high. All right, since it IPO'd, it's been selling off. It had earnings. Its first earnings, it had a negative earnings, and it looks like it started running after earnings. We're looking for that same type of deal to happen. They actually had a beat on earnings, so they sold off, so this earnings was baked into it. What's interesting about stocks that are so brand new like this is there's not a lot of data, right? We don't have a ton of data to really do technical analysis, but Fibonacci is always preeminent. We can go from that high to this low. That gives us a target. Those gives us some targets there. And if I were to do a fib extension from this high to this low, back up to this high, that lines up with, there we go. So we have support beneath us. Demand zone for this is really easy to draw. We just simply grab the wick of the low candle, the wick of the low bar. That's our demand zone. Color that a different color. We'll use green. Just call that a demand zone. All right, so we have a fib target. We sold off. We came back. We retested the 382 at the 8 EMA, and we continued to sell off. I would look for a base and move back to the 21 or the 382 at 36. So we got about a $6 move here. Let me just go ahead and break it down to the 4-hour chart. You know, the main purpose of this video is consistency in practicing your pattern, you know, your routine. That's what it is. I go with a daily, I go with fib level, I find a demand zone, I look at the 4-hour, I see that it's extremely oversold. MACD, stochastic, and RSI are consolidating, right? This is what this means. Bollinger Band is squeezing, extremely oversold. We're just consolidating down here in our demand zone. We're riding the 8 down. Looks like we did retrace to the 34 EMA at one point. Couldn't break through, continuing to sell off. I don't know what CPNG does. This looks like a consolidation pattern. I'm going to bring it down to the 15-minute chart. I got to adjust this just because it's super bright and hard to see. If you guys have not used the alpha channel, I would highly recommend it. Allows you to be able to see what's going on. All right, so basically we chopped, which kind of sucks. Yellow 10x bars. If we can get up and out of this demand zone, break the opening, right? Yeah, this is just another one of those where I'm going to go from fib to high to low, right? The 50% retracement is also the opening range high. I got to adjust that. The opening range high and the falling 200 SMA. Looks like we're starting to make a little bit of a curl around. Again, I'm not going to be interested in really getting into this until we get above the 50% retracement. All right, so I've got some alerts set for tomorrow. I've done some technical analysis. I've got some stocks that are looking like they're trying to make a pattern. They're definitely trading at 2 to 3 ATR. We're looking to play the mean, return to the mean at 36 on some of these. Yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on that. We've got alerts set. We did some technical analysis. Only took us about 15-20 minutes. We've got 4 stocks that we can keep an eye on. And yeah, I think we're looking good. Thanks for joining me. My name is Darkpool Algo. I'm going to start doing this every single day. As I work through this, I'm going to see what I can find as far as being a better educator. If you have requests, comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I will structure this channel about whatever is going to help y'all become better traders. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow. Feel free to join me in the morning. Yeah, have a great day.